What are the various programming methodologies that we have? First, see, programming methodology is nothing but it is a kind of approach to solve a given problem. So we started our programming methodology with unstructured. What is unstructured programming? Unstructured programming is a kind of problem solving approach in which we used to code the problem directly, and if our problem gets increased, code also get increased. The best example for unstructured programming is your assembly programming language. So where we used to follow the mnemonics like move, add. So in this, the problems that we faced was debugging. For example, if we have a bug, then we need to debug the complete program. We were not able to fix the bugs easily. And one of the major drawbacks of unstructured programming is no reusability. Now, for example, if I have implemented some kind of code, now I want to reuse it in some other application, it was not possible. I need to recode the same thing what I have coded earlier. So there was no reusability, debugging was tough, and the only advantage with your unstructured programming was speed. Why? Because we used to write the codes in an assembly language, so it is being directly converted to the machine code and it gets executed. Now, from unstructured programming language, we moved towards procedural oriented programming language. Now, what is procedural oriented programming language? We can take an example of procedural oriented programming language as C. Example of procedural oriented programming language. And we say that procedural oriented programming language follows top-down approach. So, top-down approach is nothing but it is a kind of approach to solve the given problem. What do you mean by top-down approach? Top-down approach means looking at the problem from the top angle. For example, you have been given a task to design a calculator. For example, I have to design a calculator. Now, what I do is I look at the problem from the top angle and I start dividing my given task into subtasks. Like I divide my given calculator into two subtasks as scientific calculator and non-scientific calculator. Now again I divide this non-scientific calculator into more subtasks like float operations and integer operations. Now I again subdivide this from integer operations to the operations like add, subtract, multiply and divide. So how long do I need to divide the given task? I go on divide my task unless and until I get a stand-alone function or procedure. Once I get the procedures, I implement these procedures. I integrate this into a given module called as integer operation. In the same way, some other team may be working on float operation. They will integrate their modules and they give a module called as float operation. Again, we go and integrate these two modules to a non-scientific calculator module. Again, I get the scientific calculator module. In this way, I merge all the modules and I get my solution, that is calculator. So you have seen that we are trying to solve the problem in this manner. So we call it as top-down approach. Now, C is a programming language which follows procedural oriented programming and top-down approach, which is a top-down approach. Here, debugging is very easy. We saw that the drawback of unstructured programming was difficult to debug and no reusability. Both the drawbacks has been covered in this procedural oriented programming. See how we say that debugging is easy, because now if I get an error, I can find out that now the error is in what module. Is it scientific calculator or in non-scientific? If non-scientific, is it floating operation or integer operation. If it is integer operation, is it add method, subtract method, multiply method or divide method, or also we can call it as procedure. Is it add procedure, subtract procedure, multiply procedure, divide procedure? So I can identify and I can say that, oh, the bug is in this procedure, and I can debug it easily. So this is what we have covered, or we have overcome the problem of debugging. Now one more drawback of unstructured programming was no reusability. Now I can reuse this code, I can reuse this procedure in some other application. If I have some other application where I need to perform addition operations, I can use this code, I can use this procedure, I can call this procedure. So here we have seen that, with the help of procedure oriented programming language, we have overcome the problems of our unstructured programming language. And the best example of procedural oriented programming language is C. Even though procedural oriented programming language have the advantages, on the other side it has got disadvantages. Disadvantages like, you see in this, we are completely concentrating on work in the sense we are concentrating on what is that we need to do. We are not at all concentrating on who is going to use it. We are concentrating on what is that I need to implement. We are concentrating on work. We are not concentrating on the candidate who is going to use it or the users. In the nouns, we are interested in who is doing the work rather than what is being done. So in our procedural oriented programming, it is completely concentrating on work. It is not at all concentrating on nouns. Means it is concentrating on what is that need to implement. It is not concentrating on who is going to use the calculator, who are the users. So this is one of the drawback. And the major drawback, that is, if we see about the data in our procedural oriented programming language, we have only two concepts of data. What are those concepts? One is a data can be a global and local. Now global means, for example, I have got some procedures, procedure 1, procedure 2 and procedure 3. Now global variables, now what are global variables? Global variables are those variables which are being used by, which can be used by all the procedures. So normally in C we used to declare global variables, nothing but we declare the variable before main. The variables that we declare before main are global variables. For example, I declare a variable x before main, so it is a global variable. P1 procedure can use it, P2 procedure can use it, P3 procedure can use that global variable. Now coming towards the local variables are nothing but the variables which are declared inside the procedure, inside the function. If I say A, means I can use this variable A only inside this procedure. I cannot use it here, neither here. So this is what we have. We have only two concepts: global variable which are being used by all the procedures, and local variable by only that specific procedure in which we have declared it. Now you think as a scenario, say that I need a variable which should be accessed by these two procedures. A third procedure should not access it. Do I have any solution? I want a variable which should be accessed by P1 procedure and P2 procedure. It should not be accessed by P3. So the answer is there is no solution here. There is no solution. So this was the drawback. Data security. If I declare the variable as global, say y variable, declare it as global. Okay, fine. I can use it here, use it here. But if I use it here, then I am going to lose the security. So this is also one of the drawback, that is data security. So what is the solution for this? The solution for this is object-oriented programming methodology. So object-oriented programming methodology. The best example for object-oriented programming language can be C++, Java, C#, VB.NET and many things.